Welcome to Pink Radio with Prestige. This is the place for you, the diva boss entrepreneur who needs quick tips on building your crave-worthy brand. This is your host, Nicole Doss, CEO of the Prestige Society, a membership organization for women entrepreneurs who believe in building powerful networks while slanging in their industries. So I want you to go ahead and grab your favorite cup of coffee and get your favorite tips right here with Prestige. Hey, this is your girl Nicole Doss, and welcome to another episode of Pink Radio with Prestige. Today we're going to talk about Tribe. That's right. So earlier this year, I wrote a book called Tribe, How to Create Infectious Communities with Your Brand. And it's one of those topics that I truly feel are not Instagrammable. They're not like super Instagram sexy, but yet gives girl bosses the opportunity to really change the game and how they create income with their brands. So it's definitely worth the conversation. It's definitely worth us having multiple conversations around this topic and to look at it from different angles. So today, this is all about, can I really build a tribe? So here's the deal. I truly believe that the short answer to this question is yes. Yes, you can build a tribe. Yes, you can build a business tribal economy model where you're able to surpass the antiquated business models of one-time transactions and really begin to explore how to create monthly income by creating these kind of membership economies. But I also believe that everyone is not built to put the work in that requires you to build a tribe that has longevity. So what we're going to do is we're going to explore what those key elements are and what the work is required in order for you to be able to stand each element up in your business. And for us to really start exploring whether or not you not necessarily have what it takes, because remember, the short answer to that question is yes, but do you want to do the work required in order for you to stand up this kind of business model for your brand? So let's just jump right into it. So number one, the first thing that I really want you to consider if you are asking yourself whether or not you have what it takes to build your tribe is that you have to ask yourself if you have the ability to put your advocacy before the bag. What do I mean by that? So when I want you to think about your business, what are the main things that drive your actions? Is it always the amount of money that you can make? Or is it about moving your client base forward in solving a problem that they are experiencing in which your business is the solution? So you're probably thinking, why does that matter? You should only care about the bag. Well, because at the end of the day, it's not just about the bag. I mean, if you look at Fortune 500 companies, leadership type of trainings that are out there, most managers and senior leaders are taught that employees do not stay at a job based off of money alone. It's usually based off of the connection that they have with their team as well as the connection that they have with their leadership. So at the end of the day, money does not determine why any one person stays at a job. What we find is it's the same correlation with running a business. Money is not the only correlation to whether or not you want to be successful in a business. And the reason being is that what we find is that when individuals are actually trying to run a business solely for money, they are no longer in a space where they are committed to overcoming challenges. They're not in a space where they're committed to giving their all to be able to help their clients. They're not committed to finding multiple agile solutions to help their target audience move forward or become unstuck in a particular situation that they're dealing with. And they don't care if their business is the solution. They just care if the business makes money. What ends up happening is one of two things. One, your customers ultimately begin to feel that. Now, what we usually find is that those who have what I like to call, the tipping appeal. So everyone's probably read the book, The Tipping Point. Well, basically, if you have that ability to tip the scales and really become a disruptor in your industry, an influencer, someone where people are just really attracted to your brand, what you'll find is that you have a really great power in being able to exploit your target audience's wants and desires, because they are tapped into wanting to be just like you, that they're willing to pay anything to be aligned with your brand. Individuals who understand that it's their advocacy and that it's not just about the money, what they focus on, if they really want to make an impressive margin of revenue, is they focus on the volume and not so much this really high cost in price. And so what ends up happening is that, and that's some brands. Luxury brands do not abide by this rule, hence why you can buy a bag for over $1,000. But if what you're not providing is not luxury, and what you're providing is just something that's trendy or something that's just cool for the moment, you can get however many coins you want, but your longevity will not be there. And ultimately, your integrity will be your demise. Let me explain to you what I mean by that. So, if you are one of these really awesome individuals who are extremely attracted to people who seem to be making millions of dollars and are out there just doing all these great things by buying the cars that they want, the houses that they want, what's really interesting for you to know is that if they are falsely or grossly inflating their price, at some point you as the consumer can no longer sustain that price. At some point, as we go through the cycle of financial recession, you will find that people will struggle to sustain that high cost. And what will happen is that they will begin to question themselves, and they will begin to say, I know I thought I needed this at first, but now I need to identify what value is this cost bringing into my life. And if before the only value that it was bringing were things that were shallow, then when people have to reevaluate their spending habits, they'll no longer find any type of reasoning or strong reasoning to compel them to be able to still spend with that brand. So when you put your advocacy before the bag, you're constantly thinking about ways to help move those individuals forward, and they feel that care. They feel that level of commitment. They feel that you are always out there trying to help them move forward. And when that's the case, they will find a way to pay for that service or for that content or for that product. So it's absolutely important for you to put your advocacy first. And when I talked earlier about the cost in looking at your cost versus your volume, it's because, really great business owners who understand that their value is extremely important as far as putting the advocacy first, they want to be able to reach as many people as possible to help as many people as possible. And they want to be able to help them with whatever problem that their target demographic is actually experiencing. So if there's a problem that they're experiencing, they want to make sure that they help everyone. And they want to make sure that they are able to reach out to as many people as possible that fit their profile of their client profile. So with that being said, now it's not about getting rich off of one person's back. It's not about creating this extremely inflated price on and placing it onto one person and now creating a hardship for your consumer. But now it's about, how do I help a multitude of people with this issue, this problem, and still seeing this particular profit margin that I'm interested in gaining with my business. So when you put your advocacy before the bag, what you're doing is you're really helping people, and then the bag ends up coming anyway. So let me just explain to you why this is important for you to grasp. So for those of you who are like really driven by money, 9 times out of 10, you're really, really driven by money, and you probably are struggling in that area. So you're really driven by money, but yet you may not experience high paying 9 to 5. You may have struggled in climbing the corporate ladder. You may also find that you have attraction to buying things that may make you look like you are of a certain caliber, but the reality is that maybe the things that you have don't even come anywhere near close to what you may have in your savings, right? So there's this completely shifted way that you view money, wealth, income, all of those things that have to do with finance. And so what I want you to understand is that this is going to be really hard for you to grasp because all you think about are your coins. So if I tell you to think about your advocacy first, that's going to be a really hard pill for you to swallow. But I want you to take these things into consideration. Now, for those of you who are purpose-driven, this is something that's just going to speak to your spirit and you're just going to be aligned with anyways. But still, this is information that I want you to take into consideration because although this may be very much aligned with your spirit, that does not mean that you do not struggle with creating streams of income for yourself as well. So I want you to understand why your advocacy must drive your actions and not your desire for the money. So what we've noticed in entrepreneurship has been a huge shift in about the past 5 to 10 years. Something as simple as now entrepreneurship being options as a major in universities and colleges across the country where, 15, 20 years ago, that wasn't the case. When you talk to young adults now who are interested in starting their career, a lot of them do not say that they want to start their career with companies, but instead they're really talking about how they want to be able to start their own businesses. So because they want to start their own businesses, they're now focused on how they can build their business. So that's huge, right? You're thinking about the market being extremely saturated. Now we have all of these kids, millennials and Gen Zs, who now are like, I want to start my own business. And now they have less risk, right? So they don't have kids, they're not married, they don't have this really high expectation on life yet because they haven't accumulated all these riches. They've been struggling and eating with oodles and noodles every single day, on college campus life. So it's really easy for them to make a sacrifice and be able to do the work required to build a startup, opposed to, let's say, a 29-year-old who is trying to climb the corporate ladder, who has found significant comfort in her salary or his salary, but yet is looking to now create that same amount of wealth immediately with their business so that they can then make the leap and not have any hardship while doing so. So the playing field isn't even equal at this point because you got kids who are just ready to, really come out the game or come out their college, years and start their own businesses. And they are willing to do it for less. They're willing to have less while on the journey. And if you're at a certain age group, you're not quite willing to make that sacrifice. I mean, if you have kids, you have all those things, you don't have that ability to really not care. So that's really important for you to take into consideration when we think about this shift in what entrepreneurs look like. And what's really funny is that, what we equate to successful entrepreneurs is anything that comes in through our feed. So if you have an ad on Facebook saying how successful you are, if you have a conference showing how successful you are, if you have you see people on front covers of magazines, these are things that are just in the forefront and to unfortunately are very shallow sides of who we are as human beings. We see that as success. One of the awesome transparent moments I've ever experienced from someone who is an entrepreneur is from My Fab Finance, where she said when she was on the cover of Essence, first of all, that was like a complete shock to her. She didn't know she was going to be on the cover. She thought she was just going to have like a piece written about her. But like her husband did like a really quick photo because Essence said they needed a really quick picture of her. And so they needed like a quick photo. So she went up to the rooftop, I think of her like apartment. and he took a couple of pictures, sent it to Essence. They ended up using it as a cover story. But when she was on the cover, she was still working full time for a nonprofit. So, but if you saw that immediately in your mind, you would say, oh, this person is, doing all whatever the narrative is that you've created in your head. And, thankfully, I really do appreciate those who are just very transparent about where they are in their entrepreneurial journey. So she works full time for herself now, and she says, she's constantly thinking about ways to make it work because of the fact that if she makes it work, give me one moment. I feel like my sound's not working, but I think I'm good, guys. I see my levels moving up and down, so we should be good. So, she was saying that she needs to make this business work because if the business works, then it works out great for her because now she feels like she's at a point where she's unemployable because she has experienced the sweet taste of being on her own 100% that she just really couldn't imagine going back and working for an employer. So really be mindful that a lot of these people, not My Fab Finance by any way, because we are fans of her here at Pink Radio with Prestige, but other people that you see out there on Instagram, you're seeing their highlight reel, and unfortunately, you may be making up versions of what their success looks like. You may not understand what came prior to. And so I really want you to think about this shift in entrepreneur journey, how kids are now saturating the market, how, you have individuals who have been working at this at a really long time, and now that you're seeing their highlight reel, you think they just came into the game, or they actually have been really fine-tuning what they do. So when you think about putting the advocacy before the bag, these are individuals who have been able to go back and forth on really working on, how do I, what's that right formula? And so they've had time to figure it out. So this is why I share with you this whole point around put the advocacy before the bag, because there's been times where I allowed money to determine my decisions. And every time, I'm going to tell you, I've allowed money, and I have allowed things such as fame, recognition, notoriety to determine my actions. And when that has happened, I always found myself in a worse position than when I allowed my advocacy to really direct me. So, for instance, and everyone knows, I hate doing websites, I hate doing all things graphic design, but yet everyone wants me to do a website or graphic design for them. And I really believe that I am not a graphic designer, at all. I just love making beautiful things. And so I just have this natural aptitude for creating really pretty things. I don't think I can be a graphic designer for a guy, but for girl bosses all day, I love making pretty things. But because I'm not a trained graphic designer, I really feel like a fraud if I were to get in that line of work. But I tried it, and I even tried to do websites. And the cool thing about the experience was that I had happy clients, I had reoccurring clients, and I had clients who would recommend my services to others. Now that lets you know that you're running a good business, right? If your clients are returning to you and using your services repeatedly, and if they are recommending your services to people that they know because, you're a brand that they trust. So I really appreciated that. But I hated every single moment of that experience, to the point where January, I believe, of 2018, I erased the page. I didn't hide it. I didn't archive it. I straight deleted the page from my website. I no longer wanted to do it. The reality is I could make $900 and then if anyone needed some add-ons, so close to $1,000 if they got a full blown out plus e-commerce platform website, right? $900. The cheapest one, if I was doing a really quick, really fast and simple 3-pager homepage about us, blah, 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 $300, right? Now, at the time, I believe my cheapest Socialite membership was $24.99 a month. So you figure what I could make in a year off of one membership was still less than what I could make by doing my cheapest package for a website. So when you look at the money wise, it's like, dude, it's easy math. Go with the websites. The problem is I hated having calls with my clients. I dread it. And the problem is I believe in giving exceptional customer service. I was going over and beyond in providing this type of service to my clients. And so, but I dreaded it. I dreaded the calls. I didn't want to have calls with the clients. I didn't want to talk about the direction of it. It just wasn't something that I enjoyed doing. And then I added to what else I was doing by doing corporate contracts as well. So I would do things like leadership training, and I hated it. I used to do leadership training years ago, once for a mortgage company, once for a nonprofit organization. And I guess because I so related to my 20s and I so related to what I do not like about leadership training in corporate organizations, it's just that senior leaders are extremely arrogant and they truly believe that they have gained their level of success by doing what they're doing and that they're untouchable and they don't need any more growth. So there's just they just don't care really about the information they're receiving. So it was kind of like I just feel like it's really hard to train senior leaders. They're there for a moment, they listen, but to really have them go back to the workplace and really apply what they're doing, I just feel like it's a really small window of senior leaders to do that. There are some senior leaders who really do. I've had great experiences of senior leaders who have, but for the most part, I've had some really interesting experiences where senior leaders just don't get it, and it really depends on the culture of the organization. And so the culture of the organization really does reward and applaud senior leaders who act one way, and then we have a training that contradicts what we are rewarding. Then no one's going to change how they're acting. They're getting rewarded by doing the bad behavior. So I started doing this freaking corporate consultation all over again, and the contracts once again, oh my gosh, literally 1 hour of my time equated to my largest package for websites. 1 hour of my time. 1 hour of my time. It was insane. I would speak at corporations. I mean, it was just something. I didn't mind the speaking. It was the doing the training piece, I think, that really got me. And I remember that year, I just felt really depressed. So when we talk about your advocacy should come before the bag, you should not just do anything for money. You should really say that for your 9 to 5. You hate, I'm not gonna say you hate your 9 to 5, but you may find yourself in a space where you kind of just do your 9 to 5 until you can scale up with your actual business. So, because I don't hate my 9 to 5. I actually really enjoy my team. I actually like my boss. I love the kind of work that I'm doing. I love that we are a startup team. Everything that I learn from the different organizations that we go and we help start up are lessons that are so valuable that I'm able to bring back to the women of Prestige, that honestly, if I didn't have this access to these lessons from these major companies that we've been able to help start up, then I don't think that I would even be as valuable to my members of Prestige, because then they would just be getting my thoughts and not things that are actually grounded sound practices in business. So my advocacy is around my tribe, that the money comes. It just comes. And no, it doesn't come in an abundance, but it comes in a space where, one, I'm comfortable, but two, it leaves me in a space where I'm always asking myself, what can I do to do more? So I think that's really important for us to understand. So, and once again, you have to remember, there's all these kids coming out who are putting their advocacy before the bag because they have less to lose. And then also, too, we're finding all these companies that are really interested in becoming these purposepreneurs. So I read a book called Connected to Goodness by David David Metzler, and he speaks about how he is this capitalist that is really interested in connecting his wealth to helping others succeed. And so, when you have people who are constantly focusing on how can I make money to help others, to pour into others, but you out here just trying to make a buck off of somebody, and this is someone who has worked in positions making millions and millions of dollars, they're in a better position to impact more people, but to be focused. And he made millions and millions of dollars working his 9 to 5. And he now is able to build businesses where he can help others win. So he's putting that advocacy to work. So I think that's really important. Or even when I think about, oh my gosh, I can't think of the name. Is it Dave and Jerry? Jim and Jerry? Jerry and, oh, help me out, guys. The ice cream people. You'll tell me. So, they have this whole thing around being connected to goodness as well, and everything that they do, and their decisions and their suppliers, and decisions of who they hire, and decisions of, collaborative opportunities that they have. It's all about how do they give back to the communities? How do they give back to the industry? How do they give back to dairy farmers? How do they give back to industries that are impacted by their product, which is ice cream? Dave and Jerry. Why am I thinking it's not Dave and Jerry's? I'm gonna lose it because I can't think of it. But anyway, so I really hope that you understand the importance, because what happens is, even if you're like, oh yes, I'm tied to my purpose and this is what I want to do, at some point in time you will get completely off kilter and allow money to completely take you off the rails. And trust me, when you're feeling frustrated with your business, when you feel like you're doing things that you do not want to do, 9 times out of 10 is because you allowed the bag to run you and not allow the advocacy of your brand to direct and guide you. So you really want to make sure that you are focused on that. So I know I said a whole lot, and we're only on number 1, so I'm going to make 2 and 3 really fast. So number 2, consistency is queen, boos. Okay, so if any of you guys first saw this on Pink TV with Prestige over on Instagram, you'll know that I said that content is queen. So what do I mean by that? So really what I meant to say is consistency is queen. Why do I say queen? Because everyone says consistency is, when they say something is something, they say what? It's king. So when here with all the Room of the Girl Bosses, we're going to say queen. But when you think of consistency, I want you to think about it broken down into 3 elements: content, value, and abundance. Okay, so that's why I was thinking about content is queen, because content really is for those who are creating content for their tribes. And remember, this is all around, can you build your tribe? And the answer, once again, is yes, if you're willing to do these things. So number 1 is putting the advocacy before the bag. And number 2 is understanding that consistency is queen. So why would that be hard for people? Easy. Because consistency means that if you are going to have a product, let's say you have an online boutique and you have a lot of inventory that you can't seem to move. And if you have, let's say, equal parts small, medium, large, and extra large, and 2X large in your inventory, but they're slow moving items, then what I want you to do is I want you, really to think about, okay, if I took a survey and asked people if they were interested in a subscription box from me, do I have all of enough inventory in these slow moving items to give 1 product out a month if I were getting X amount of dollars a month for this particular product, right? So I'll give you an even better example. I'll get very, very specific. I have an online boutique called Nicole's Boutique. I really do not, but this is for an example. And I have some pants, shirts, and accessories that I really need to get out. So I have probably about a certain amount of shirts, a certain amount of pants. When I look at everything in its totality, I have a year's worth, meaning I have 12 different items that I could send out to my people, my tribe, for a year. And each product would run anywhere between, I would sell it anywhere between $35 to $45. So I know that it took a lot less for me to be able to buy it, but that's how much I would sell it. But if I had to sell everything for $39.99 and just get $39.99 every single month from these individuals, and I send them a surprise package, then that's $39.99 that I will get, let's say, from 10 people. 10 people sign up. That's $399 you get a month more than what you've gotten before, because these were your slow moving items out of your inventory. So what you would do is then you would bundle up your product. You have to ask yourself, do I have abundance, enough items that matches the value of what they would be paying and allowing you to still make a decent profit margin? So if you have a product, that's what you need to do. But you have to be able to have enough to be consistent, right? You can't get $40 from someone every month and not have enough inventory to be consistent to send something out every month. And consistency means too that every month on the first of the month is when you're sending everything out, which should mean that you are using some type of subscription service to be able to manage the subscription so that you can go ahead and make sure that you're getting the money every month. And there's really awesome subscription box management sites out there that you can be able to leverage. But let's get to the people who really find it hard to create a tribe. So consistency is going to be queen for those who have content. That's right. Which means, are you up for the challenge of making sure that you have enough audio files, video files, written articles to turn into ebooks to be able to provide to your tribe to help them in whatever way your business is positioned to help them? And if the answer is yes, then guess what? Bundle up your services and start marketing them now. Do not fall for the movie that says, if you build it, they will come, because it doesn't work like that. You have to constantly put your stuff out there so people know that you are there for the service. Remember, Instagram algorithms are making it harder and harder for people to be able to see that there are things out there. So timelines are not being flooded with things like ads, but they are being flooded with things like pictures from friends and family, especially with this new change from the Instagram algorithm. So you're going to have to constantly put stuff out and engage with your community in order for them to know this is something that's new. For services, guess what? Services should be easy peasy for you as well. Bundle up your services, make beautiful names for your packages. Remember, 3 is your max, but 2 is your sweet spot as far as the different packages you want to create, and move from there. And just be able to provide those services, or making sure that you are able to provide the content on a consistent basis. So number 2 was consistency is queen. Now remember, number 1 is putting the advocacy before the bag. Number 2 is consistency is queen. We're moving on to number 3. Number 3 is do your homework. I know people say, real women do not have competitors, they have collaborators, which is absolutely true. But in the game of business, you do have competitors. It's just the difference is how you view your competitors. Honestly, view them as intel. That's right. View it as intel, where you're able to see what are they doing, what's their price mark, where are they getting their information, where they get, who are their suppliers, where do their consumers go to find them, and figure out not how do you look just like them, but how can you fill the void. If you find that your target market is exactly the same and you know that there's something that you want to be able to help your target market overcome. Why do I always say that? Because remember, you are creating a business to solve a problem for your targeted audience or your target demographic. That is business 101. You should be in business to solve a problem. If you are not in business to solve a problem, you are just doing a hobby because you like to do it. All right? So, if you know that you are helping your target demographic move forward in an issue that they're having, whether it's hair care, maybe they want to figure out how do they make a beautiful face in 10 minutes and you're a vlogger for, beauty. Maybe you love beautiful clothing and want to help more women find chic clothing and great ways to look beautiful when they step into the workplace without killing their bags. Okay. guess what? Now you have an online boutique that's affordably priced because you found the right vendors that's not going to bust your pockets, but at the same time will give you quality clothing and allow you to have a profit margin in which you are happy with. You see where I'm going with this? You got to do your homework. You have to understand what is going on out there. You have to understand what's even going on in your competitors or who else is in your competitive market, because if you believe people are just going to buy from you just because, I hate to tell you, it just is not going to happen. So you have to make sure that you are competitively priced. You have to make sure that you're making it easy for your customer to do business with you. I always say this, if it takes people 2 or 3 steps to do something to get to the end game with you, literally the more steps you add, the more chances you are decreasing them to convert from onlooker to actual client. So you really want to be well versed in what's happening in your market, making it really easy for them to work with you, and really understanding where your market's even going. My husband's in real estate, and I was telling him that because I don't want to be a realtor, but I definitely want to get into the investment game. So I've been doing some research. And of course, now that I want to get into the investment game, I want to teach other girl bosses how to diversify their portfolio by getting into the investment side of it, and in a way that we're helping people, especially through wholesaling, which is definitely a saturated market. But I think that if you have integrity and if you have a purpose behind it, then people will be able to work with you. And with this new, I'm not going to claim it, but supposedly with this recession that's coming in 2021 or in 2020, people are going to need help with their homes. And so I want to be able to help them get out of any financial trouble that they may be in. So I'm sitting here and I'm studying, listening to these podcasts, and I heard about this website that gives you intel on how the market is moving. And so one of the things he had noticed in a state that he has started purchasing property in is that there's a lot of developers. So he's just been buying acres and acres of land. Hey, I'm going to buy this amount of acres of land, and maybe one day a developer will buy it from me for triple or quadruple the amount. And I'm like, that's so funny. Let's use this website to really understand where the market's going. Why? Because market research is everything. Every Fortune 500 company you can think of has some kind of either R&D group, which is your research and development group, or has a market research group, or has a new business development group. But you're just sitting here just pushing stuff out because you think that's how people make money. Follow business models that are out there that are tested, tried, and true. You do not have to reinvent the wheel. The wheel already exists. So you have to do your homework. And if you don't know how to do your homework, don't worry. We'll talk about different ways that you can do your homework. But one thing that you'll take away from today from doing your homework is understanding your industry, where your industry is going, and what's happening within that market. Is it or is it an uptrend? So people are really, ramping up in what they're purchasing, or do we find that they're actually ramping down and the market's getting a little dry? So no matter what it is, you have to figure that out. So I hope that in this tribe series of, trying to figure out, can you build a tribe? I hope you come out of this really figuring out that you absolutely can. I hope this has given you some more insight, identifying whether or not the tribe model is right for your business, and if you're willing to commit to it. But with that being said, I just want to go over, once again, those 3 elements, or the 3 things I want you to keep in mind. 1, put the advocacy before the bag. I say this 10,000 times because I want this to become something that's so ingrained in your mind that you understand this is why you are in business, because you have an advocacy for your client base. And if you're building a tribe, they should be at the forefront of everything that you are hoping to accomplish, okay? You are in the business of helping your tribe. All right, number 2, consistency is queen. And we look at it broken down into 3 different components: content, value, and abundance. So if you're creating content, you're creating that content and you're being consistent. Value, if you have products, they're going to be of value, and it's not going to be at an extreme cost, and it's something that is going to give you a great profit margin. And abundance, because you got to make sure you have enough of it to keep people coming back, whether it's services, content, or products. And then last but not least, do your homework, girl bosses. And if you don't know where to start, we're going to start with looking at your market and really understanding the trends within your industry. So with that, I hope you lovely ladies have an awesome, wonderful, and most of all blessed day. Bye.